morning, everybody. Welcome to a Monday live stream that's been moved to a Tuesday. I had a bunch of things to take care of yesterday, and to be perfectly honest, the weather was going to be garbage today, so here we are. It's the perfect day to stay in and do a little crochet. We are looking at the fall. We are already 4 days into November, which just seems somehow impossible. I don't know. I don't know where this year has gone, but it's going. So we've got the November Unblanket canvas coming this Friday. And as we've been doing every month, the week leading up to it, I love to post photographs from the rest of you. So as you've completed your calendar unblanket canvases and you've sent me the photos at the Etsy shop, I like to share them in little batches, 5 or 6 at a time, and just sort of like let everybody see what everyone else is doing. And I've really been having a lot of fun doing that this year. And as we like to kind of get closer to the date, I know some of you are kind of in a hurry to get a lot of your canvases done, or maybe you're really branching off into your own artistic sort of journeys and you've been doing your own thing, which I think is great. So I also try to publish links in our posts that have a lot of other like suitable appliques that you might find useful or inspiring if you're kind of starting to get an idea of what you want to do for your own monthly calendar unblankets. So yesterday we posted a few links to some very timely and autumnal appliques that we already have, like a poppy and a turkey and some different leaves. We've got a little pumpkins, we've got little flowers, just things that are kind of associated with the month of November. And I gave the family members a poll. I wanted to know of, say, like 3 of the things that have come up a lot over this year. And I was thinking kind of cornucopias, and I was thinking weather. I just thought, which of the 3 would be most November-ish in your mind? And they were pear, umbrella, and corn. Corn won. So I thought today we would stitch up a couple of little corn appliques. I've got 2 different sizes. We've got a written pattern in the Etsy shop, which I'll be adding some more photographs to a little later. So if you care to come go pick up the pattern, thank you. And also, please note that anytime you purchase a pattern from us, if at any time you want to re-download it or download a new version of it, because sometimes we just add little edits or even sometimes photographs, you can always pop in, go to your Etsy account, go to your purchases and reviews section in your Me account area, and that's where all of your receipts are. So for anything you purchase on Etsy, you'll have an area where all the receipts are listed. When you purchase a downloadable file from anyone, anywhere on Etsy, you'll have a little receipt associated with that purchase, and inside that receipt you'll also have the ability to download the pattern file again. And you can do it as often as you need to. And every time you download it, you'll get the new, the most updated version of that download. And that goes for any shop. So if anybody's sort of updating a file location and it's something you've already purchased, if you purchase it again, you'll have the most updated version of whatever is sitting there. So just a little FYI. And if you ever have questions, for heaven's sakes, let us know. You can always message us there. Okay, let's talk about corn. Corn doesn't just come in yellow. Corn comes in different colors. There's Indian corn, which is like reds and blues. There's white corn, which is a little more white than yellow. There's corn that has like the sweet, I think of the peaches and cream corn that has like the white, almost like the lighter yellow and the darker yellow kernels in it. That's kind of what I was going for here. And then there's also something I've seen on the internet they call glass corn or stained glass corn. I'm not sure if that's real. I've never seen it in real life, but my gosh, is it ever pretty. So I thought today I would show you how to make the little corn and how to do the leaves, and it's basically the same concept for both. It's just one that is larger than the other. So the first one, I'm going to make just one solid color so you can really see what I'm doing, and I'm going to add the leaves to it. And then in the second one, the larger one, I'm going to play with color and try to make one that looks kind of more like an Indian corn, or like one of these fancy colored corn. So I'm going to make 2 today, the little one and the big one. And the pattern, which is in our bargain section of our Etsy shop, has both sizes included in it. Okay. Let me make sure that I haven't missed anything in the chat. I see tons of family members here. Lynette is here. Lynette has just sent us a super chat. Thank you, Lynette. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. Nice to see you, Lynette. Lynette's back in the chat. Mr. InStitches is also in the chat saying hello to everybody. I think that's a pretty, like, there, you guys can see this all right. That doesn't have like too many weird shadows or anything. I've got extra lights on today because it's sort of a dark and gloomy day out there. So without further ado, let's get into our corn. I have a cup of coffee here. Destiny, Cherry, Jessica Rabbit. I see Joyce and Maeve. Who else is here? We've got Dawn, Pamela, Sandy. Hello, guys. It is so nice to see you all. Thank you so much for being here. Caroline, Rita, Joanna, Amanda. Woohoo! We've got Chloe, Catherine. We've just got just a ton of people here. 79 of you so far. Thank you so much. Make sure you like the video so that it lands in everybody else's feeds in case their notifications aren't working. All right, I'm starting with some bright yellow. We're going to make this little guy right here. This is a size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn. Remember, with an applique, you can use any yarn you like with a hook to match the yarn weight. It just depends on how big you want your little applique to be. This little guy is 5 centimeters tall or 2 inches tall. He's about almost that again wide. And the big one is 8 centimeters tall or 3 inches tall and about that again wide. So that's how much they differ. I used a 4 millimeter hook for this. This is also a G or a 6 hook. Pair of scissors, yarn needle, that's all you need. This is definitely a simple little pattern. Let's go. So I'm going to push these guys off to the side. Get my yellow. So like I said before, I'm just going to do the little one. I'm going to demonstrate the little one in a solid color. So if you wanted to use a variegated yarn that has really fast color changes, that's like a perfect little bit of scrap for this project because corns come in a lot of different colors, and that's an easy way to change colors. Otherwise, you can alternate between 2 yarns, which is what I did for these guys. I alternated between these 2 yarns, and I'll show how to do that in a moment. All right, let's grab the yarn. Start with a slip knot on our hook. This is the small corn. We chain 7 to begin. So 7 chains. We are going to just focus on the corn. Skip the first chain from the hook and into the second chain you're going to single crochet 3 times. Single crochet into each of the next 4 chains. Three single crochet into the last chain. And now we're going to work up the underside of those 4 foundation chains where we single crocheted down the sort of edge. Into the bottom of each of those 4 single crochets, we're going to single crochet once. So single crochet into each of the bottom of those 4 single crochets, or another way to say it is to single crochet in each of those stitches. It's just you're working up the other side of the foundation chain. Then you're going to find the first single crochet you made and just slip your hook into it. It's probably a little on the tight side. Slip stitch to join. And that is your corn. Leave yourself a little bit of tail for sewing. It doesn't have to be too long. 20 centimeters or 10 inches. And then if you've got a little bit of tail left over, so if you don't crochet over top of your tails, you can use the opportunity to just sort of weave it in on the back. And if you've got anything that kind of looks like a hole that opened up, you can just grab that tail and pull it through those stitches and cinch the tail up as you go, and that will help close any spaces that you've got. But that is your corn. That's the small corn, nice and simple. You've got 16 stitches all together. Now we want to add our leaves, and we add the leaves by actually crocheting directly onto the corn. So there's no sewing on this applique. We're going to flip it upside down so that your fastened off tail is down here. This is technically the little bottom of our corn, but we want to actually work with the bottom of our corn. I'm going to have a little sip of my coffee. How's everybody doing? Any questions so far? You guys think it looks a little distorted? Is that because I've got some shadow happening? Like I said, it could be the light. And the audio is a bit funny. Okay, I will try and not yell. um, maybe if I wonder, should I change the lighting around? Mr. InStitches. I wonder if Mr. InStitches is available. If the sound, so if the sound is a little bit loud, then I apologize. I've got the mic right next to me here. We've got a mic and the camera and the mic are kind of one thing. So I'll try not to yell too much. Hello, Kaylin. Hello. Pamela thinks it's not quite as clear as usual. So is that the audio or the visuals, you guys? Happy birthday, Laura! I would like to do the umbrella too. I'm focusing on the corn today though, because we've got two different ones to get to. So if I have time this week, I will also be kind of stitching up an umbrella. Several people have asked for an umbrella, so I'd like to do that too. Becky says it's okay. Okay, right. Well, Mr. Stitches is kind of floating around, so if as long as I don't talk too loudly, we should be okay. Okay, back to the leaves. So you want to look at the right side of your corn. So you have the right side facing yourself. You've got your fastened off tail to the bottom because we're focusing on the top up here. Look at that middle top stitch. We're going to take our green yarn, make a slip knot, and we're going to join our green yarn with a slip stitch right in that middle stitch. Susan, thank you so much for picking up today's pattern. Oh, I have a sign for that. Thank you. Thank you. Oh yes, and a reminder, the corn pattern is also on a sneaky sale. So not only is it in our bargain shop, but it's on sneaky sale today. If you're at the show, you're in the know. Thank you very much. Okay. Joining our green yarn with a slip stitch in that very middle stitch. So it's the middle stitch at the bottom. And here we go. We're going to chain 5. And into the second chain from the hook. So skip the first chain, slip stitch into the second chain, single crochet into the next chain, and then you've got 2 chains left. What you're going to do is you're going to take, these 2 chains, you want to look at the stitches along the side of your corn. So here's where you joined, and then up from there you've got 1, 2. Into that first of the 2 stitches, you're going to slip your hook through the chain, so the next chain, and skip up to the second one. You can use the whole stitch or just the loop that's closest to the inside of the corn. Place your hook through there and single crochet, and you're going to do it again. So slip your hook through the next chain. This will be the last chain. There's 1 more stitch between sort of where you just crocheted and where you joined your yarn. Just slip your hook right through that loop. You can use the whole stitch if you want, or just the loop that's sort of closest to the inside of the corn, and single crochet. So what you've done is you've joined your leaf to the edge of your corn. So you've got like a little bit of like the leaf kind of has a little point at the top, and then it sort of joins to the rest of the corn. And if you look at sort of corn that still are in their little green sheaths, it kind of covers the corn. So you see that sort of a lot. You see the green or the yellow corn kind of popping out of the green sheath. That's what we've done here. Okay, you're going to make sure you're looking at the right side of your corn and place your hook right through the same stitch that you joined your yarn in and slip stitch. So just like you started, you're facing the corn, the right side of your corn, you're going to slip stitch into the same stitch that you joined your yarn. Everybody with me so far? This is great. I'm going to have a little sip of my coffee. Lisa's wondering if anyone wants to start crocheting for the first time, what would you recommend as their first project? Christine, thank you so much. I always say the granny square, Lisa. Granny squares are the best thing to learn on because they teach you a few different stitches. They also teach you kind of working in the round. They teach you joining rows. They teach you creating a square as opposed to just going back and forth. I would always recommend a granny square. And then you can use that granny square for other projects down the road. So it's not like it's just a sampler that you never use again. You actually get to do something with it. So Christine just picked up a pattern. Thank you so much, Christine. That's a thank you for Lynette, too. Thank you so much. We are going to show you that again. So here we go. We've just finished leaf number 1 by slip stitching back into the same place that we joined our yarn, and we're staring at the front of our corn. Flip your corn around. So now you're looking at the back side, the wrong side of your corn. And we're going to do exactly what we just did for this leaf. We're going to chain 5. And of course, when you work back across your foundation chains for leaf number 2, you've turned, so you're looking at the right side of your corn. Same thing, skip the first chain from the hook, slip stitch into the next chain, single crochet into the next chain. Oops, I've gone in the wrong order here. Let's try that again. We want to be looking at the wrong side of our corn. Chain 5. And now, wants to spin on me. Here we go. We want to be using these 2 stitches when we come back. So you want to turn, and there's really no wrong way to do this. I just want to make sure that I've got this looking properly. Yeah, here we go. Okay. We skip the first chain from the hook, slip stitch into the next chain, and single crochet into the next chain. I'm just getting ahead of myself. And now we want to attach those 2 last chains to the 2 stitches above where our yarn was joined. So it's the exact same thing but on the other side. And like I said, you can use the entire stitch, but I also like using the loop of the stitch that's closest to the inside of the corn. So in this case, I'm going to put my yarn back in here, my needle I should say. I've got 2 chains left, and I want to pair them up with the 2 stitches that are above where my yarn was joined. So I slip my hook through the next chain, and I slip my hook through the second of those 2 stitches, the one that's furthest away from where I joined my yarn, and single crochet. And then I do it again. Slip my hook through the chain, slip my hook through the first chain or the first loop of the whole stitch if you want of the next stitch, and single crochet. So you're just attaching the leaf to those 2 stitches above the bottom, and then just like before you're going to slip stitch into the bottom where you joined your yarn, and that's it. Leave a little tail. That's for sewing the green part of your applique down. And you can weave in any little tails that you might have. I've got that little short tail. I'm just going to flip it over and weave it in on the back. And don't worry, I'm going to show this to you all over again when we make the large one too. The first crochet project I ever made was a hat. Now I'm self-taught. I taught myself how to crochet. I learned how to crochet looking at an old booklet from a secondhand store. I had already learned how to knit, so I was already a knitter. And I taught myself how to crochet out of that book, and I just freestyled a hat. That was the first thing I ever crocheted. And then I really didn't do much with crochet until I met my friend Teresa, and she taught me how to make a granny square, and it really opened up the whole concept of crochet, which was why after I was crazy into crochet for years and making all kinds of things, when I would sit and teach friends, I always would start with the granny square, because I realized just how much that helped me understand so much of the world of crochet when Teresa taught that to me. So that's why I always recommend starting with a granny square. Mandy says, I never thought corn was cute until now. Anything small is cute. Thank you, Linda. Linda's enjoying it. Now I want buttered corn. Ooh, Elise, that sounds so good. Oh my gosh. All right, so here we go. That was the small corn. I'm going to show you now how to change colors. So I used 2 different colors of yellow to make these 2 corns because I was really kind of going for that peaches and cream look. And changing colors is really simple. It's even less complicated than the usual changing colors for like mosaic crochet or Fair Isle style. You just keep switching between colors. You don't worry about finishing a stitch with this color or that. You just change colors on the fly whenever you want to. So it's really, really simple. I'm just going to quickly look on the internet here at different colored corns. Like I said, this glass rainbow corn, I don't know if it's real, but it sure is pretty. And then of course there's like different kinds of like, I guess, Indian corn where the colored kernels are all different. Like there's like rich reds and there's pretty blues and then there's yellow with different colored kind of ones stuck in between. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll mix some yellow and a bit of blue together because that might be kind of fun. And I've got some blue yarn here that I'm eager to use up. Neither of these takes up very much yarn. You're looking at like less than 5 yards per color. And of course you can get really, really creative with this. Any colors you want. Definite scrap project. And this is all you do. So we're going to make the large corn now. I'm going to start with yellow again, but I'm going to be mixing in the blue as we go. And for the large corn, we chain 9 to begin. And there we go. That's 9 chains to begin. And just like the first one we did, we're going to work 3 single crochets into the second chain from the hook. So I'm going to start with 2 single crochets and then I'm going to mix in my blue. So I'm going to place my hook through that chain. I'm just looping in my yarn. I'm not even going to bother with a slip knot. And then I'm going to pull both of those. I'm going to work over top of the short tail, and because I want to make sure I carry both colors as I work, I'm going to hold on to the yellow one too. So there's a single crochet in blue. Now I'm just going to switch back to the yellow. So I put down my blue, but I'm working over top of it. And I'm going to single crochet in yellow. If you're just making this a solid color, that's 3 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Into each of the next 6 stitches, you're going to single crochet once. So you single crochet in each stitch all the way down until you get to the last chain, and then you work 3 single crochets in that. So single crochet in each of the next 6 chains, 3 single crochet in the last chain. But if you're changing colors, you're going to do something that kind of looks like this. So I'm going to do single crochets in yellow, 2 of them. I'm going to switch back to blue. And I'm just dropping the color and making the stitch with the whole color. I'm not bothering to worry about whether or not there's a proper stitch color on top of the stitch. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just sort of jumping back and forth. I'm going to go back to yellow for 1. You also don't have to work over top of your short tail if that complicates things for you. You can just leave it out to the back and weave it in later. And what I'm attempting to do is make this look kind of random. I want this to have a random assortment of the kernels kind of popping up in different colors. So there's a single crochet in each of the 6 chains down. That leaves me with 1 chain at the end. 3 single crochet into the last chain. So I'm going to go yellow, blue, yellow in that last chain. Yellow, and then same stitch, blue, and then same stitch, yellow. And I'm just working over top of my short tails because I can. If it's too complicated for you, just leave them out to the back and weave them in later. So to begin, 3 single crochet in the second chain from the hook, single crochet in each of the next 6, 3 single crochet in the last chain, and you can use a short color changing variegated yarn. You can switch between multiple colors, or you can just make it all one color. It's entirely up to you. I just wanted to show you what it looks like when you switch colors back and forth. A little sip of my coffee. Those would be cute appliques on a market bag, says Dawn. It totally would. And how appropriate. Going to the market with like little corns on your bag. All right, just like the little corn, you're going to single crochet in each of those 6 stitches all the way up the other side of your foundation chain row. So that's 1 single crochet for each of those 6 stitches in the middle between the 2 end chains that have the 3 single crochet on each end. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try and just sort of make it look as random as I can. So I'm going to work, and I try to make sure that I don't put a stitch that's the same color. Like the blue is obviously my alternate color, so I'm trying to make sure that I don't always line it up kind of right on top of the same color from the other side. Like I want it to look really random. I'm going to switch back to yellow. I've got 2 more stitches to go, so I think I'll switch back to blue again. And back to yellow. So that's 3, 6, 3, and 6 again. When you get all the way back to the beginning, join with a slip stitch to the top of that first single crochet. I'm also just going to carry my yarn up to the next row. So I'm draping the color I'm not currently using over top of my stitch, and I'm joining the row with a slip stitch with my current color. So there we go. At the end of row 1 for the large corn, you've got 18 stitches. We're not turning our work. We're going to keep going in the same direction. So we're always looking at the right side of the corn. So already I feel like that has a very corny look to it. I really enjoy the sort of thinking about each stitch as an individual kernel. That's really how. And we're going to continue. So there's another row for the large corn of just single crocheting all the way around. So remember, you've got your 3 stitches up top and your 3 stitches at the bottom, and then 6 stitches in between. So for each of these 3 stitches, we're going to go 2 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 2 single crochet in each of those 6, 2 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 2 single crochet around the bottom, and then single crochet in each of those 6. So I'm going to start with a chain 1 and 2 single crochet in the same stitch that I joined in. I'm going to immediately switch to a blue for the next one because I want to keep that random look going. And in the same place I just single crocheted, I'm single crocheting again, but I'm switching back to yellow just to make it interesting. So 2, 2, and then 1 more stitch gets 2 single crochet because we want to keep that edge kind of consistent. I'm going to single crochet twice with yellow. So chain 1, 2 single crochet in the same stitch that you're joined in to begin row 2, 2 single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochet in the stitch after that. Now it's a single crochet in each of these 6, just like the first row. And again, I'm going to kind of just sort of switch back and forth between my yarns because I want to try and keep that random look going. So I'm going to single crochet with yellow here, but then I'm going to single crochet with blue in the next 2, just for fun. And then back to yellow. For 3, why not? And now I'm at the other end. So there's 3 curving single crochet at the end. So each of those 3 single crochets gets 2 single crochets. 2, 2, and 2. I'm going to start with blue here. So 2 single crochet in the same stitch. I'm just changing colors to make it interesting. 2 single crochet in the next stitch, again changing colors to make it interesting, and 2 single crochets in the stitch after that, and I'll use yellow for both of those. So that's 2, 2, and 2. Excuse me. Deborah says, "Hi Jayda, did you know you were one of my first crochet tutorials I ever watched? For some reason I couldn't find out the C2C until I learned it from you. You make it so easy, so thank you for that." Thank you! I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, the corner to corner is such a fun stitch, and I can see how it can be very complicated, because when my husband's Nonna first tried to explain it to me, I didn't get it. But then when I finally figured it out, I was like, oh, I think it's just really how you look at it. It's just sort of the way the corner to corner is just how it's built, but I think that can be a bit deceptive in its description because you really are still working back and forth. You're just expanding your row every single time. It's exactly the same concept if you're making a triangular shawl from like the bottom point, but we don't think of it like that. Even though we are actually building from a corner outward, it's the same thing. But we don't think of it like that. We think of working back and forth and just increasing on both ends. So it's funny that our brains kind of latch onto a thing and then we go, oh, well, I don't understand this. So I'm really glad I can help that out. All right, working down the other side of our large corn, we've got 6 stitches here. We want to just work single crochet into each of them. You're going to have the slip stitch where you join the previous row. That's the false stitch. We're not counting that one. So just concentrate on those 6 stitches, and I am going to do my best to keep this sort of little random color thing going. I think I'll work a blue, and then a yellow, and then a blue, and then a yellow, and then a blue again, why not? And then I'll finish it off with a yellow. There we go. When you get down to the end, so that's 6 single crochets, again, remember there's going to be that false stitch. That's the slip stitch from the previous row. We're not using that stitch. Just skip over top of it, slip stitch to join. And that is the large corn. And if you're as random as you can be with different colors, imagine that with 3 different colors or even 4, it really starts to look like one of those multicolored corns. I just love that. I'm going to cut the blue. That's my alternate color. I don't need much yarn there. I can fasten, sort of pull that in and weave it in. But I am cutting a lot more yellow for to sort of stitch it down. That's the sewing tail. So if I use this as an applique, I have a nice long sewing tail. And then just take a minute to weave in any short tails. So that would be like your alternate tail. And if you didn't work over top of your short tails like I do, then weave those in at the back. Cherry says, love the corn. Where's the penny emoji? And we need a cat. You know, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Cherry. We do need a penny emoji. And I think we have a cat. We could probably switch the cat emoji back in. Maybe I'll get the mister to change up the emojis for our next live stream next week. We'll see what we can come up with. Okay, so there is my large corn. And as you can see, I did sort of with the first large corn I made, I alternated between 2 different yellows because I like that peaches and cream. But this one is now starting to lean into more of that sort of that Indian corn color where you've got different colors. You've got reds and blues. There's so many different varieties and they're all so pretty. I just love them. So that is the large corn. And same thing, we want to add our leaves to it. Now, I thought it might be kind of fun to use, you know how like dried out husks on a corn start to go kind of pale yellow, very, 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 very pale green, almost white. I thought that might look kind of neat. I also still really like the green on it. I'm trying to decide. I'll use this. This is sort of the off, kind of a super crazy light yellow, white yellow color. And now we're going to do the same thing. So it's also 2 leaves. They're built roughly the same way. They're just longer. And we do attach the last 3 stitches of the leaf to the corn on both sides. So we attach the last 2 stitches of the corn, of the leaves to this corn on the little one. We're attaching the last 3 leaves of the leaf, the last 3 stitches of the leaf to the corn. And it's a slightly taller stitch. Not difficult, it's just be forewarned. That's what we're doing. Okay, we're going to take our leaf color, make a slip knot. I'm going to throw my yarn right off the desk for some reason. There we go. And we're going to attach our yarn. So wherever you fastened off, that's the end that you're not using. You're looking at the right side of your little corn. Find the bottom middle stitch and join your yarn with a slip stitch. So these are for the leaves. We do everything based off that middle bottom stitch. Leaf number 1, here we go. We're going to chain 10. There's 10 chains. This is for our large corn leaf. We're going to skip the first chain from the hook and slip stitch into the second chain and the third chain. So So we start that leaf with 2 slip stitches. We're going to single crochet into each of the next 2 chains. So 2 slip stitches, 2 single crochets. We're going to half double crochet into each of the next 2 chains. And that's going to leave us with 3 chains. We're going to double crochet into those, but we're also going to attach to these 3 stitches along our corn. So 1, 2, 3 chains, 1, 2, 3 stitches. We start at the furthest stitch away, so 3, stitch number 3, and then stitch number 2, and then stitch number 1, and then we're back to where we joined the yarn. So it looks like this. We're double crocheting, so we yarn over, place our hook through that first chain, and 1, 2, 3 through the corresponding stitch. You can use the whole stitch or the loop that's sort of closest to the inside of your corn. And then double crochet as normal. Pick up a loop and then yarn over, pull back through 2 twice. Do it again. Yarn over, insert your hook through the next chain and the next stitch. Again, I'm using the loop of the stitch that's closest to the inside, but you can use the whole stitch if you want. Pick up a loop and double crochet as normal. And then once more, yarn over, insert hook through last chain, insert hook through last stitch, and they should be like right next to each other. Pick up a loop and double crochet as normal. Turn your corn so that you're facing it and slip stitch into the same place that you joined your yarn originally, and that completes your first leaf. Wow, that really does look like a dried out husk of a leaf. I like that. That color worked out really well. That's a very pale yellow for a reference. Okay, that is leaf number 1. We're going to do exactly the same thing, only out the other side. So I like to turn this over and chain 10. So I like to look at the back and chain 10 so that when I turn, I'm looking at the front of the corn. Chain 10, there we go. Now we're going to work our way back. We're kind of looking at the front end of our corn. Remember, you're eventually going to be using 1, 2, 3 stitches up the side of your corn from the bottom where your yarn was joined. That's number 1, number 2, number 3. We'll start by joining in number 3 and then number 2 and then number 1, but we have to get there first. Skip the first chain from the hook, slip stitch into each of the next 2 chains. Single crochet into each of the next 2 chains. Half double crochet into each of the next 2 chains. And then you've got 3 chains left. You're going to double crochet into each of those and the corresponding stitches up this side of your corn. So yarn over, put your hook through the first of those 3 chains, come over here, find the first of those 3 stitches, and you can use the whole stitch or just the front loop or the loop that's closest to the inside of the corn. It's entirely up to you, it doesn't matter. Double crochet, and then you're going to do that twice more. So yarn over, insert hook through the next chain and the next stitch. So you're kind of treating the chain and the stitch together as like a single place to put your hook. And then you've got one more. Last chain, last stitch, double crochet. Make sure you're facing the right side of your corn and through the same stitch that you joined your yarn in originally, slip stitch to join. Leave a tail for sewing, because that's the tail you're going to use to sew down your leaves or the little husk of your corn. And then if you have any short tails left over, you can weave them in. And that really looks like the husk, the dried out husk of a corn. I love that. And of course, when you're sewing down your appliques, you can choose to bend the tips of your leaves down. You can have them kind of curling up. You can do whatever you like. So lots of flexibility with this little applique pattern. I like to weave the same colored tails into, or I like to weave tails into the same colored stitches when possible. So I'll be weaving that short tail up the back of this leaf here. There we go. So, a large corn and a small corn. Two very simple little appliques. And the pattern is basically the same. You make the corn first, whether you're using a solid color, a variegated yarn, or you're switching between yarns to get like those different little kernel colors, because corns come in so many different colors. Then you're adding the leaves directly onto it. So there's no sewing of the pieces together, but you still get this really fun three-dimensional look in that corn. And then when you're sewing the actual applique down to a piece of work, you would decide where you want it. So let's say, oh, I don't know, I want it sort of, I'll grab one of my little example square. I want to say exemplatory, but that doesn't seem like the right word. So if I wanted to say stitch it onto this nice plain square, I would decide where I want it. And then I would sew down the corn part first. So I'd thread up my long tail in my yarn needle, and I could sew using either the outside loops, or in the event that, for example, I don't want to interrupt the look of these different kernels, I would use the loop just underneath the edge. So see, there's the top edge. That's the loop just behind it. So that's the loop I would use of each stitch all the way around, so that I have an unbroken effect of those pretty different changing colors. I'd stitch around here, just pull the yarn underneath the entire corn, and then stitch up the other side. I don't have to sew down the bottom, because that's what this is for. So as I'm sewing down the leaves, and the same thing, I might just use sort of the loops underneath the leaf to kind of keep that 3D effect going. Then I'm sewing out and back, and then out and back. Knot your ends, weave the tail in underneath your applique, and that's how you would attach it. So that is that. We've got two large and two small. Okie dokie. I'm going to have a little sip of my coffee. Does anybody have any questions about how to make these little corn appliques? In the pattern, I've also indicated, I've got like a bunch of pattern additions and variations that you can play with. So in addition to sort of changing up the colors, in using variegated yarns or switching between two different colors, you can really play with the color. You can also play with the size of the yarn. So if you wanted like a really big one, I usually recommend that you match the yarn type and fiber size and weight and fiber to the project you're making it for, but that isn't always the case. Like Dawn mentioned earlier, if you put these on a market bag, you might want to make them really big and use super bulky yarn and a bigger hook. And that's fine. You've made a super bulky style applique, and you can put that on your market bag. There's nothing wrong with that, and that would be really cute. So you would just upsize your weight category, upsize your hook size. Likewise, if you wanted to make it really, really small, you could use a smaller weight or a lighter weight yarn and a smaller hook. You could make these in thread if you wanted, if you wanted something super tiny. So, you know, that's how you can mess with the size of these two things. You can also like add a stalk. So if you wanted your corns to still look like they're in the farm field, when you finish your second leaf and you slip stitch back into that bottom end, Joanne, thank you for picking up the pattern. Oh, wait, where's my thank you note? Where's my thank you note? Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You would just not fasten off, so finish your second leaf, slip stitch back into that same place that you joined your yarn originally, and then chain a length. Any length you like, as long as it says, chain as long a length as you want that stalk to be. Skip the first chain from the hook, and then slip stitch into each chain back. Slip stitch into the same place you joined your yarn, fasten off. And that's good for the little corn. For the big corn, same thing. Finish your second leaf, slip stitch back into the bottom, and then chain a length as long as you want that stalk to be, and then skip the first chain from the hook, single crochet all the way back, just so you have a slightly wider stalk for that slightly bigger piece of corn. So that's how you can add stalks to them if you want them all to be kind of standing in a field. Oh, this is really kind of cute. I keep looking at this I really like the way corn looks. And you could also make it so you've taken off your, if you've taken off the leaves, so the leaves are off, but you want that little bit out the top, you can chain your lengths out the top, do the same concept, you're just not attaching it to the corn. So let me just quickly show you that. If I whip up a piece of corn, so I'm going to make the corn, the little corn again. Sorry guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 of those, skip the first chain, 3 single crochet into the next chain. I'm just making the small corn so I can kind of show you what it looks like to leave like that little bit of husk that sometimes is off the top. Single crochet in each of those middle stitches, 3 single crochet into the last stitch, and then you're working up the underside of the foundation row, single crochet into each of those 4 stitches in the middle, across the bottom there. There we go, and join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. So this is just the small one, and I'm going to use the small leaf size, but like I said, you could do the same thing with the big one too. I always like to leave the long sewing tail on the side that I'm not adding anything to, and let's use the same husk color. Join your yarn with a slip stitch in the middle bottom stitch, just like you would for the leaves. Chain 5, or the same length that you would for the tall guys, and then slip stitch into the second chain from the hook, single crochet into the next chain and the next 2. You're just not joining it to the actual corn. Slip stitch back into the same place that you joined your yarn. So that just sort of sits out the top, and you can do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, slip stitch. And you can sort of change it up, maybe a single crochet in the next 2 and then slip stitch in the last stitch just so it narrows a bit at the bottom. Remember, leaves are organic and they all look a little bit different. There you go. And then it always looks nice to do things in 3s. Try it again. Chain 5, slip stitch, maybe single crochet in the next 2 or just 1 and then slip stitch in the last 2. Vary up the slip stitches and the single crochets, and again join with a slip stitch in the same place that you originally joined your yarn. And now you've got 3 little husky leaves out the top of your corn. Leave a bit of tail, that is what you would sew it down with. Weave in any of your ends, and then you can do the same thing with your corns. You can make them different colored, and then if you just want that little husky bit out the top, it kind of sits out the top like that. And then, you know, that kind of looks like corns do when they're lying in a cornucopia, or if you've got bunches of them together. I often see like bunches of little corns together. So that's a fun little variation on the pattern as well. That almost looks a bit like a pineapple. And there we go. All right, so I'm just going to quickly take a look at the chat to make sure I haven't missed any questions. Everybody, coffee and crochet is bliss, says Maeve. I agree. Or corn earrings, says Elise. I like that too. Magnets or a pin from Dawn? Absolutely. Yes, you don't just have to use this as an applique. You can put it on a barrette or a pin. You can put it on a little magnet for the fridge. That'd be really cute too. Lisa's wondering what the perfect Thanksgiving or Christmas projects would be. Well, it depends on what you're making them for. Are they gifts? Make a gift with the idea of the person you're making it for in mind. Everybody's different. Everybody likes different things. So, you know, if you're going to make things as gifts, make sure you make it with somebody in mind. And if you're just making decor for around your house, then, you know, you make the thing that you want to decorate with your house. We've got, oh my gosh, so many different projects for Christmas and Thanksgiving, lots for Christmas. I love making Christmas ornaments, so we've got tons of those here on the channel. Yeah, it just depends on kind of the mood that you're in. Not everybody likes traditional Christmas colors, not everybody likes traditional Christmas things, and I've now seen Christmas trees covered in literally every theme imaginable. So I don't know. Anything kind of goes when it comes to the holidays. I hope you all enjoyed making these little corn appliques along with me. This Friday is our November unblanket video, so we'll be unveiling the November design, I guess, the unblanket canvas design. Of course, some of you have worked ahead and have already made your November blankets, and some of you are just handing in your Octobers. I will be sharing photos of everybody's canvases that I've got photos of all this week, so look forward to the posts section of our YouTube channel for that. And of course, Friday we'll have the November design, so if you just want to do whatever I'm doing, you can look forward to the Friday video for that. And there may or may not be corn on it. We shall see. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section down below, and you can always pop into our Etsy shop. The link to our Etsy shop is always in the description box, and you can always pop in and just ask us a question there. You just click on Contact Seller, and that opens a message thread. And if you've already got a message thread open with us, you can just continue on the same thread. I will see it. Great big thank you to everybody who picked up a pattern. Thank you to our members. Thank you to the Lynette for the super chat. Really appreciate it. And thank you to all our subscribers who are here and hanging out. I'm really Friday. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have a great week. Bye, guys.